the presence of God in his people is alive. He's moving, and we have things to fight for. And so you guys have vision, you have a foundation, you have things to encourage others. If you will recognize that call and that anointing, it's not about starting fights and arguments and everything about political matters. It's about recognizing that we have a foundation of the love and the peace of God and a hope for the future. And that's a gift that a lot of people need. They need that gift. And whether the individuals themselves hate it, it is what the kingdom, if you want to call it, I don't even like calling it a kingdom, it's what evil and darkness is trying to remove out of life. It does not want peace. It does not want justice. It does not want goodness. It does not want family environment. It doesn't want those things to exist. And so that is what is under assault. And so when I see people on their podcasts and on the news and social media having so much fear, confusion, all the different things that come out, instead of recognizing that this is what we are fighting for. We are fighting in our prayers, we are fighting in our lives for the very essence of anything that is good is trying to be removed. A little testimony of this, on Friday night, we got to go to up to watch the Tennessee baseball game. And it was really nice. We got to go with Seth and Promise and her boyfriend and all my kids and Catherine. We had really nice seats right behind, across the diamond from first to third. We were right in line with that pretty much. And we got there, we were running a little bit behind, and so we walked into the stadium literally as they threw the first pitch. And we walked around, and I hadn't been there since they remodeled it. They were working on it last season. They remodeled it, and they added seats for rich people, all box seats. And I didn't see any of those for sale, so apparently they've all been purchased probably by that's how they got it built, was all the purchasing of all that. But we walked in, and just in honor of the Tennessee Volunteers, God had painted the whole sky orange. The sun was setting, so we didn't even have the sun in our face. We were expecting to have, for an inning or two, have the sun right in our face as it was setting in the west there. But no, literally the sun dipped down right as we arrived, and the whole thing, and it just got deeper and deeper orange as it went on. So we knew they were going to win because God's a Tennessee fan. He tolerates other people, but he especially loves Tennessee Volunteers. And the night was just one of those nights where the weather was absolutely perfect, and they played a game and none of this is a spiritual side of what I'm going to say, but they played a game that was close. They were down most of the game. They finally tied it up, and then at the end of the game, they had a guy started off the bottom of the ninth inning. A guy got a double, I believe, to start the ninth inning, and the next batter came up, and he was a bunt guy, and the whole other team knew it. So even before he started squaring, they were moving in for the bunt. He came around, and it was a bad pitch. And Seth goes, well, what he needs to do with all them moving like that is pull it back and get a hit. And the next pitch, that's what he did. Or maybe I think they had a ball after that too. But the next pitch, he pulled it back and hit a single right up the middle to win the game. And so we got our victory. But my observation of it was is what is under assault. The things why we have to remain vigilant, and also we have to encourage people, our friends there's a lot happening in the world. There's a lot of things that I'm not sure about, a lot of things that I don't agree with, that the people that should be doing good things are not. Talking politically, talking about the analysis from so-called conservative people is so mixed back and forth, and it creates a lot of discouragement. It creates a lot of confusion. It makes people like, well, I don't know what to support, what I should be involved in. But the truth is, we do know what happens, regardless of whether the people that we want in office are doing what they should do, we do know what the other people want to do. And we know they want to remove even the opportunity to have a night like we had Friday night. Those types of things are what, and whether the individuals themselves hate it, it is what the kingdom, if you want to call it, like calling it a kingdom, it's what evil and darkness is trying to remove out of life. It does not want peace. It does not want justice. It does not want goodness. It does not want family environment. It doesn't want those things to exist. And so that is what is under assault. And so when I see people on their podcasts and on the news and social media having so much fear, confusion, all the different things that come out, instead of recognizing that this is what we are fighting for. We are fighting in our prayers, we are fighting in our lives for the very essence of anything that is good is trying to be removed. I think as Tolkien said that the quote, at least in the movie, I don't know if it's an exact quote from the book, where it says that we're going to lose anything that's good and green in the world. Yeah. Exactly, and those are the things, and that's what, in Tolkien's time, that's what when they fought World War I, that's what he was facing, that same type of thing. Everything that is good is under attack, and we know that. And so that is what we need to recognize and bring encouragement to those who don't have the same community, the same foundation that we have the enjoyment of getting with each other. Because you can be that for somebody else. And friends that you are in contact with, people that you know, you can be that encouragement. And so I thought of that just it was a good night to be out, and we hadn't been able to do anything like that in a little while. It's wintertime, and it's nice to get out, and it's just absolute perfect evening for it. You can't always have the circumstances like that, but it was nice. And so remember that. And so when you see the fight, when you see the confusion, when you see people giving up, like, well, throwing up their hands, I don't know, it doesn't make sense to me. Recognize that your life and our life, we have a measure of stability because of a foundation, and you can bring that security, you can bring that comfort to people. That's one thing I really appreciated about Johnny last week in his prayer. He really, I think the final thing he prayed was for that we would have hope, that we would recognize that God is doing something in people, in the younger generation, that it's not the end, everything is falling down. And I really appreciated that about him, because I'd not had a chance to talk with him a little bit more this week about where his vision is on any of that, because I just recognized that he had a very sweet and humble spirit when I met him the first time. And but to continue the testimony, last night, like I said to a few of you when we got here, we got to go and sing with Johnny last night in Sweetwater. Kevin came with his he didn't have a name. He doesn't have a name for his bass, does he? Joseph Gordon used to call his Billy. But he came with his big bass, and Catherine and Johnny and I, we got to sing. And Johnny said that was his first time at that Celebrate Recovery, leading worship as well. But we ran into Josh, Shane's son, while we were there. And but we got to just enjoy some really, really great fellowship with Johnny. And when we got done, Johnny said this. He said, I don't think I want to lead worship without you guys ever again. And so as much as he was a blessing last week, and it's been nice to meet him, he's just been over the moon, glad to meet us and different ones. And Kevin was phenomenal last night. He's not here with you, I guess, but Kevin was phenomenal last night. He shows up and he brings that bass in there, and he wasn't even sure if he was going to play it because he wasn't sure about the setting or the songs and stuff. And it ended up being like feature Kevin night, because the way the flow was, where he just kept that bass. When he was playing it or he was bowing it, and we didn't have lyrics, so everything we were singing was everybody had to hear him, listen, and follow, and he was just keeping that thing going, and it was beautiful. And of course he was singing too. I could hear him singing without a microphone. But just as far as describing the testimony of what happened last night in that moment, we weren't sure. You know, we were singing songs. Johnny had written a couple songs. I had written a song. We were singing songs that we knew nobody was going to know at first, anyway. But they got right in with it, started singing along, and not 5 minutes in, there were several people. I know for a fact gave their life to the Lord right then. But from not 5 minutes in, people were coming up to the altar, getting prayed for, and responding in different ways the entire evening. It was full the whole time. We played till 9 o'clock, basically, with like a 20-minute thing where the guy was speaking, and then he brought us back up, and Johnny played the same two chords for the next hour while he kept talking. But God was really blessing, and we started singing. We went into a chorus of "You Were Made to Be a Son." And when we did that, when we started singing that, and that wasn't a planned thing, we didn't know what we were going to do. We just started singing, "You were made to be a son of God." God just started falling on people left and right. People some of them were coming up, some of them were just being overwhelmed all around the room. And it wasn't a big place. It was like half of this room with a little back room that was still open and completely full of people by the time we got going. But it was really cool to see that and see people with that hope, with that vision. They called themselves a church of misfits, and so it was a Celebrate Recovery meeting. So they had people coming for that. They had a recovery house, people, young men coming with that. But about half the congregation was just the church that comes out and supports the Celebrate Recovery, and so they were just there to be a part of what God is doing and using their church and their ministry. And I don't know if they bought the building or if it's been a long-standing church there or not. It's an old Pentecostal church. The cool thing, though, like I said, Kevin was over there. He said he was battling afterward. He said he was having a tough time. He said his hand was cramping up. He couldn't play at different times. But he said he was dealing, and he said, I kept saying, "I'm doing this for Jesus." Something like that. He said he didn't explain all that. He didn't tell me all things, but he said he was just dealing with things. But God was using him the whole time. And that's the way it is a lot of times. A lot of times the person that, I think Donald McGill used to talk about how when you see a swan swimming on a lake, he said you see this smooth glide of this beautiful creature going across the water, but underneath there's little feet going like this. And that's what a lot of times when you see people who are God's using, they're doing a lot of different things. So remember that, because they need your prayers too, and God's move and touching people. Comes at a cost. We talk about sacrifice and how God uses that in His kingdom, and things come at a cost. And so Kevin sacrificed for us last night, and he wasn't the only one, but it was just cool, his testimony with that. And so I'm giving his testimony since he's not here this morning. And but yeah, so the presence of God in His people is alive. He's moving, and we have things to fight for. And so you guys have vision, you have a foundation, you have things to encourage others. If you will recognize that call and that anointing, it's not about starting fights and arguments and everything about political matters. It's about recognizing that we have a foundation of the love and the peace of God and a hope for the future. And that's a gift that a lot of people need. They need that gift. And so recognize that call.